Welcome to the Business Analytics Educators Forum. I'm Alan Higgins. This episode is a seminar by S M A Moin. The talk is titled Ancient Art in the Modern Day Classroom. Moin is a senior lecturer in marketing at Queen Mary, University of London. Having worked as an academic and consultant in various industry sectors, his passion is storified and creative teaching. Our host is Christina Phillips. Over to you, Moin.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. This is my third career, actually. I started in the Navy. Then at some point, I was not dying in the battlefield and I was frustrated. What am I doing? Am I serving the nation or nation serving me? And then I left Navy, worked in the corporate sector, realized that I'm contributing to the bottom line and I'm not making any difference because there are a lot of externalities these companies are creating. Then I thought that how can I change this world? And something came to my mind that, well, if I create tomorrow's leader with knowledge, skill, and character, then probably I'm doing the right thing. And that's what brought me to the academia. So I actually look at education from the lens of philosophy and the purpose and things like that, purpose-driven education. So today, as you understand, that the topic is ancient art in the modern day classroom, creating inclusive classrooms and fostering student engagement through storytelling. So we all have a story. So, if you understand that, what is the agenda today? So it's basically, how can we create an inclusive classroom through storytelling? Because in inclusive classroom, we bring these stories from different perspectives and from different people. So what I will be looking at is that trying to show you that when we read stories come in different genres and different forms, and every genre has a life philosophy, and how we can embed those life philosophies into our life so that a student can manifest those when they go into the corporate world and they become part of creating the better world. So I was really thinking that how will I run this session in front of the business analytics professionals, the academics, because I think they know better stories because they are always working with data and other things. And all of a sudden, I was in my little world of fantasy. And I just, at that time, in my subconscious mind, I met Dr. Jojo. And Dr. Jojo gave me some tips about this presentation. And I listened to him very carefully. And I was coming back. And then there was a stone come on the right side of my head. And I turned right and I met Dr. Mojo. And Mojo said that, well, you are not ready until you talk to me. You should take some tips from me as well before you go and make your presentation. I said, okay, tell me. I was very passionate listening to Mojo. So let me tell you what was my conversation with them. So Dr. Jojo said that, well, teaching is a job. You should be very serious to do this job. Mojo smiled. Mojo said, no, it's not a job, man. This is a calling. So it's about you have to bring all your passion and things like that. If you just take it like a job, there might be some problem. Joseph said that if you want to teach, knowledge matters. You need to know everything, very thorough. Well, Mojo said that, well, knowledge is not enough. What is important is that how much you care, because that is what is the moment you connect with your students. Then Jojo said that teaching is transactional. So you transfer the best knowledge and skill from teacher to student. Mojo said, no. Teaching is transformational. So you need to make sure that your students are transforming as leaders so that they can create a better world. So it's not only knowing is not enough. Jojo said that, well, teaching is about creating critical mind of our students so that they can analyze. Mojo said that, well, that's good, but you need to also focus on creating the creative mind because it's the creativity that creates the better world. You need to see something beyond the horizon. So Jojo said that prepare your student in such a way so that they can give the right answer. But Mojo said that, well, unless your student know how to ask the right question, what is the value of getting the right answer? So enable your students so that they can ask the right questions. Then Jojo said that, well, focus on how you can teach better because everybody has got different style. Mojo said that, well, you need to always adapt with your students. So focus on how your students learn better. because otherwise the magic will not happen. Joseph said that it's about connecting the knowing and doing, so that means knowledge and skill. But Mojo said that what is more important is becoming. That is what is your identity. You have the knowledge and skills, but at the end of the day, who you are, that's what matters. Then Jojo said that it's about identifying the dots so they understand what are the important points. But Mojo said that it's about connecting the dots. So it's not only just identifying the underlying points, but how you connect with them and make a grand narrative or make the sense. So Jojo said that create your student in a way so that they can follow the rules. Mojo said that that's about developing the managers, but you need to focus on developing them as leaders. So it's not about following the rule. Prepare them in a way so that they can break the rule. I said, wow, that's really good teaching philosophy, and I need to follow both of them. So, this is a typical scenario. Jojo said that, well, Jojo's student, when they go for an interview, they focus on their knowledge, what they know. They try to sell their result, that they got the first class, 80% mark, 85% mark. They say that what they have learned, and they give the right answer. They're very focused on that. And they were kind of busy in self-promoting themselves, making own branding, own marketing. But Mojo's student, they are not much worried about knowledge. They say that, well, a skill that they have developed, the way they have extended the horizon of their imagination, how they have put their creativity into perspective. And they show their developmental journey, how they have overcome these struggles one after another, and finally who they have become. It's not about their result. So they are asking the right questions, and the interviewers were very, very passionate to hear their questions. And they also bring some social proof, which is not the case in case of Jojo's students. So, for example, when they are asking for some examples, Jojo's students say that, that I developed a marketing plan, digital marketing plan, and I got 80% mark. I have done this thing. So you see that this is very detailed. But this is a different scenario in case of Mojo's student. Mojo's students say that, after I have done my digital marketing module, my tutor was saying that do something and see how your experiment works into the world. So what I did, I put a webinar in the YouTube, and I thought that everybody will see this webinar. I was very excited, but you know what? It's only 2 grandmothers. They saw this webinar. I was very disheartened. I went back to my teacher, Mojo, and Mojo said that, what about you change the thumbnail and title? So I changed the thumbnail and title. Well, some views are coming now. I was a little inspired. Then I created a Facebook channel, and I put the link and more views. Then I opened this Twitter handle, like the X handle, and I shared the link on Twitter. Some more views are coming. So that inspired me to make more videos. So eventually I created the Pinterest, the infographic of this webinar, and put it in Pinterest and connecting the link with that. People are even seeing and they are connecting. I started writing a blog and I link my video to that blog. More views are coming, more engagement happening. I created an Instagram channel and I cut this video into a small bite size and put it there. More views are coming. So then I started writing a small article on LinkedIn. That it was also clear, also working. So all of a sudden I just realized that I've become a content creator. So it's not that I'm learning something, but I'm also teaching others, and they are also teaching me. So we have created a learning community. So I have not only got the voice, but I've helped others to find their voice and create meaning in their life. And when I go to bed, I really feel good because I could have disseminated some of the things I have learned into the classroom and shared with others, and they are being benefited. That's kind of a huge pleasure for me. So if we summarize this thing, that Einstein said that imagination is more important than knowledge. So we need to think about that, how we are sparking the imagination of our student. It's not about just transacting the knowledge from one person to another. So, see, knowledge in the information age, this is not a scarce resource. You know that there is Google. You know that there is ChatGPT. So finding out knowledge is not a very big problem. Even if you would not make a choice to listen to me now, you could have actually made a choice to listen to a Harvard professor on YouTube. So it's about application of knowledge that is important, and that creates the impact. But how you bring this thing to life, how you create the magic, it's about how much you know, because how much you know, that is important. But again, how much you care. From student side, it is about the curiosity they have to learn. So you have to spark the curiosity. But from teacher side, it's about the passion to teach as well as passion to learn from the student. So if we just summarize the Mojo's teaching pedagogy, you can see that in one end, there is transactional activity. Yes, we have to give some knowledge to them. And that's why what you learn, that is important. But on the other end, we have to continuously focusing on that how they are growing. Every class, every week, like a tree. When you plant a small tree, you look at. So your students are like that. So how you learn and who you become, that is also very important. You are not only focusing what is answers your students are giving to your questions, but what kind of questions they are asking. And you have to remember one thing, that graduation is not the end of the game. This is the beginning of lifelong learning. I tell my students all the time that, you might have to unlearn and relearn. So there was a famous person who said that the illiterate of 21st century is not the one who cannot read and write, but it is who does not know how to learn, unlearn, and relearn. So this is what is important, that we have to embark our student to find a pathway that they are passionate about and open that door so they embark on a lifelong learning through that stream of knowledge. So the question is, how can I teach better? But it has to resonate with how my students learn better. When they are in sync, they are in harmony, that is the moment you will find your signature pedagogy, and that will matter. So Mojo said that, if you think about the inclusive education, the problem is most of the people think inclusive education as a methodology or as a pedagogy. So that's why they use it as a method. So what they will do, they will maybe bring a case study from India or maybe from China and maybe from America, UK, and they say that, okay, we covered the case study. But it is basically you are bringing the same knowledge, but again, when you are interpreting, you are solving this problem, probably you are bringing the Western paradigm. But see the inclusive classroom as a philosophy, which means what different people think. What is their belief about reality? What is their belief about knowledge? What is their know-how about how to solve the problem? So for example, maybe you are teaching about disruptive innovation. That's an American theory, but there is a theory, the similar theory in India, which is jugaad. So you have to bring the whole philosophy or whole knowledge things into the classroom, and that you can bring when you actually let everybody to talk. I was very surprised. I said that, how do you do that? And he said that through storytelling. I was surprised. Storytelling? You create this inclusive classroom through storytelling. Wow. How? Wow, I'm just surprised. So he said that, all the world is a stage and we all merely the players. So everybody is a character. So you need to understand that all students are not equal. The moment you see that students are equal, there is a problem because you are making them a category. So no matter which university they come, there are other students coming from that university as well. You need to consider that every student is unique. So they have a unique set of desire. So they have a unique set of life philosophy. They have a unique set of weakness. Their intellectual curiosity, their psychological weakness, their self-belief, their way of doing their imagination, all are different. So you have to let them understand that they matter. They are unique. The reason they have been in this world, because God has created them with some specialty, and you have to tap into that specialty into classroom. So that is what is the inclusive classroom. And that is where the diversity works. It's not about just you have the student cohort representing 70 nationalities, but how you use their life philosophy, how you use their knowledge paradigm. So they say that, that in a diversity is the number one, number one criteria for teams creativity, because this is create the breeding ground for ideas, and we learn from each other, and everybody becomes an active learner, and learning becomes fun and enjoyable because we are listening others, and that's a story. We are listening others. It's coming in terms of a story. So team creativity is about, say, when we bring this diversity, what happens? This diverse group of people, they don't conform to group thinking. Rather, they create creative friction. And creative friction is where the imagination comes out, where the creativity happens. So they see the world from different perspectives. And that is when they can see what is unseen. Everybody start thinking like a protagonist, because everybody has got different desire and they are pursuing the desire in a different way. So inclusive classroom with the diverse people inside is not just consist of rooms, these digital devices and the students and the teacher, but it is like an evolving entity, always evolving, always dynamic. So that is what is the power of storytelling. Because if you bring in this kind of scenario, your student, they will find magic in this classroom. That is the little world. And they will also find the magic inside themselves that they have not seen, they have not realized. So what will happen? They will start blurring the boundaries of the classroom and the world. And that is what is the fantasy genre. So you see that J.K. Rowling said that it is important to remember that we all have magic inside us. But again, you see that Rabindranath Tagore, who got the Nobel Prize, so he also said, the Bengali poet, that the highest education is that which does not merely give us information, but makes us our life in harmony with all existence. So we need to focus on transformational learning and make sure that it's not that the students, they are working out with some skills and knowledge, but what is important, that who they are becoming, because they have a role to play in this world. I was trying to look at some, the research, academic research done by Harvard Business Publishing, education editors, and they were really trying to understand that why students are not engaging nowadays. So they asked a very offensive question. I mean, I was very surprised that what do your professors do to make you disengaged? I was really surprised. I thought that the question could have been like, why you are disengaged? But they were sure kind of in their brain, there is a perception that definitely professors do something and that caused disengagement. So the answer came out something like that. Lecture heaviness, less conversation, that means, then delivery problem. So when they are delivered, probably there is a lack of passion, another thing, and also relevance problem. So the lecture heaviness comes from more slides, less explanation. So you see that it's like people try to take box that, okay, how much I can cover, but without quality, in-depth discussion, and not interesting. Sometimes, you have to design your thing because there is an aesthetic beauty. They say that one picture tells 1,000 words. What then is, if that is the case, that how much a video actually stands for how many words? So, yeah, we need to consider the other aesthetic bit as well. Then it's like less energy, less passion, less enthusiasm. So if you are not passionate, if you are not enthusiastic, how you actually can expect that your students will be enthusiastic? I have tried this thing myself. So sometimes I talked as if I'm passing some information, and I see that my students are like sitting down. But when I just started performing with my whole heart, I'm trying to actually connect with them, bringing my passion, bringing my energy. I see that my students are energetic as well. So I think you have actually noticed the same thing. But then, lack of real world connection, lack of real world application, lack of adaptability. So it means you are not bringing the story that are authentic, that are believable, that are coming from the real world. So this is what is the thing. So what a traditional teacher does? Well, they will put some text, some theory, they'll bring some data to support that. So it is what? It is predictable. But in a story, what is in a story? In a story, the question is, what is next? What is next? But when you know that your teacher will open the PowerPoint, there are texts coming, there are theories coming, there are data coming, and it's predictable. So you can see some kind of picture like this. But if you become a storyteller and if you try to teach and connect with your student, you create a narrative. So then you attract your students' attention. You wrap your content with this story. So you have to wrap it. You know that we love Santa. Why? Is that Santa gives us gift. But when Santa gives us gift, even if it is a simple, minor gift, maybe a chocolate, but it was wrapped nicely. What is the wrapping of your content that you are bringing to transform your students? Yes, we have to take an effort. Then you have to humanize it. You have to adapt it so that it can relate to them. And then you are also creating surprise because you have to deliver it in such a way that they will be surprised. Most of the time we start with, oh, this is the learning outcome. And when we say this is the learning outcome, then most of the time, the surprise element is killed. But we can create a story. We can show them a problem. And we can say that if you are in this problem, how we are going to solve it. And then maybe you take some people's answer and then you say that, well, today's lecture is all about giving you some tools, some knowledge and techniques so that you can come out of this scenario. And then when you run your lecture and at the end you can say that, okay, so these are the things I have covered and these are the things it's going to help you in this way. So why storytelling matters, you might see that. Well, this is like Aristotle has said it long time before. It has got 3 dots, fundamental 3 dots. Obviously, there are more dots. It is ethos. That means credible. How do you create credibility? You have to bring a character to get attention. So that's why, who is the character here? You have to always take your theory into the world, into the corporate world. Find a CEO, find a manager, find a foreman, make a character. Then you start with a problem. Then you need to touch their heart, which is pathos, emotion. But he said that emotion is good, but emotion will not last unless you back it by logic. That is, you use the right fact, right data, right statistics. So you might say, I sometimes do some humor that, well, you fall in love with emotion and then you get married, but you realize with the logic and facts that was a wrong decision. And then you understand what is the next course of action. So so it's not just emotion. The logic and facts are equally important. So there is also something called aesthetic emotion. You might have seen a lot of people dying in front of you, but you have forgotten. But you have really seen the drama where Hamlet died, and the way he died, you probably will never forget about it. So the way Shakespeare actually encapsulated this thing, that is what is aesthetic emotion. Are you bringing, is there this thing in your classroom? Is there a moment of truth? Some moment that they feel the aesthetic emotion? Well, then I told Jojo, can you tell me that what is your classroom looks like actually? Give me a summary so that I can work out with this. So Jojo said that, well, in my inclusive classroom, my students come from the ordinary world. They have got their desire. They have got their weakness. They have their worldview. And I celebrate that. And they go through the Tuckman's, the stages of group development, that is storming, forming, norming, and performing. So they get into the special world. And that is my classroom. They meet with their mentor and peers. I'm their mentor. And I challenge them. So I ask them questions. And they are challenged by other students. So this is the inclusive classroom. There they try to adapt themselves. They find their own identity. There is some personalization will happen. The life philosophy also challenged their life philosophy. So what they believe, we challenge them so that it is transformed. Then so that was, then they, again in the spatial world, but now they are surviving because they are facing so much challenge. So they appreciate others' worldview and they try to understand that what is their perspective. It can be transformed or improved by others' perspective. So they start sharing their own opinions and they passionately listen to other opinions as well. So then the spatial world becomes different. Now they are thriving. They find their own voice. They find magic in the world and they find magic inside themselves. And that is the end of fantasy genre. I said, wow, you are talking about fantasy genre? He said, yes. I said, what's then? He said, then they graduate. I said, then? He said, okay, there is more genres there. That is the beginning of horror genre. I said, horror genre? What are you talking about? He said, yes. Because after graduation, they will go to the workplace and they will see injustice. They will see problem and they will stand for the right cause. So they start fighting the monster in the society. Now the spatial world changes. That is the workplace. At some point, they defeat the monster. I said, wow, then what happens? He said, it's not all very good news. Because once they defeat the monster, another fight starts. That is transcending genre. They started becoming monsters. Think about some of the top companies in the world. They started with a vision that they will change this world. But they're giving various services to us. But the fundamental philosophy of everything they do is to collect data and monetize. So he said that when they become monster, the most difficult fight happens when they fight the monster inside them. And that is transcending genre. I said that how they can fight the monster inside them. He said that you have to go back. You have to make the harmony of knowledge, skill, and identity. So if the character is missing, so you need to always review what you are teaching. That's giving them some skill. They can do something, but it does not guarantee that they will do that. So you have to give them the character and identity. So if you, so Mojo said that, well, I don't see my students as a student. I see them as the future leaders. And I give them a pressure that you are the future leaders. You have to develop yourself. So it's not easy, but it is rewarding. And I said that, well, does it work all the time? I said that yes, it works most of the time. Many people like it. But there are still some students. They might not like it. They might not be liking that they go through their hero's journey and they face so much struggle you put them through. They might not actually like that you are pushing them to dream and imagine, because you have a different story, because you are living probably with your wife and with your children, but they might have actually left their parents at home and they might be feeling a bit nervous. So you have to handle them carefully. So somebody may even give you a feedback that come like a slap on your face, where somebody will be standing and just cheering you up. I say, when you get wrong feedback after doing all those things, what do? He said that I try to go back 700 years before. I look at Dante's Divine Comedy, where Dante said, it is not what defines you because you are in certain circumstances, but what defines you is what you do to come out of these circumstances. Thank you.
So I am sure that there are questions in the audience, but people might need a moment to cogitate. If you want to, you can type them in the chat and then I can curate from there. Otherwise, just stick your hand up and let's go through that way. So Annabella's first up. What would you like to say, Annabella?
Thank you very much for this. This was really interesting and very inspiring as well. I was fascinated by your presentation, to be honest, and thinking, how am I going to use this in my slides, to be honest. I might be sharing some pictures of your slides in my own slides, if you don't mind. But yeah, my question to you is, it kind of reminds me of this, I guess, very old-fashioned debate that we keep having, and especially in the other side, in the rest of Europe. I know that European universities are, and I was educated in one of them, it's all about educating the citizen for the world. And you have very much this debate and the old-fashioned institutions or more modern institutions, whether you're educating the citizens of the world versus educating the employee of the world. So I wanted to hear your thoughts and your perspective on that, given what you are encouraging us to do with our students in this transformational journey.
Okay, so I think you have to make your student feel that they are unique. And there is a magic inside them, as I told very clearly. They are magic inside them. Because, I mean, in my last seminar, I asked my student to make a presentation about something. And trust me, I was just blown away by their work. So they have to believe in themselves, and they have to understand that they are a protagonist. They have a desire, and this desire will be evolving. Clarity will be coming. So they are on a hero's journey here. And we are here to support them, because they are the ones, not just the student, but the future leaders. So inspiration matters. And we have to let them understand that, well, we are only opening the door, but it is the path that will be created by themselves, and they will join the conversation. So it's like, I mean, very short. I mean, I think you understood what I'm trying to say. But this is what is the most important.
Yeah. Do you think that, and I'll shut up now after this, Christine, I promise, but do you think that clashes with what modern institutions are trying to do? That, because it's all about developing competencies, developing skills. Do you think there's a clash there, or do you think both things come together?
No, I think it's not clash. It's actually how the modern people, because it's like there, that if you look at the corporate, so there are the left-brainers and there is the right-brainers. Left-brainers are the executive, and the right-brainers are the marketing people. Now the marketing people, there is a CMO position in the boardroom. So you see, I understand they talk about, the skill and other things. So that's, but I mean, thing is that you are teaching say, for example, case study, and you are trying to develop their analytical skill. But if you make them the, say, CEO of a scenario, or if you make them say the product manager, so that's a different kind of responsibility you are giving. So I'm not saying that it's only about inspiration. Another thing, it is everything. And remember, another thing is that you are building a relationship. It's like a brand touch points. So students should get the same experience in all brand touch points. So some people, they will come, they will teach, and they will go. And it's very difficult for a student to actually get an appointment. No, you got to be available to make appointment, to support them in assignment, understanding. What I'm trying to say is that sometimes what we do is the right thing we are doing, but we are not emphasizing the inspiration bit. We are not emphasizing that students should believe that they can make a difference. And every time, like I just said to my student that, well, it's not the story you write about yourself. No, it's not about that. It's the story you create by the life you lead. So you are born and you will die. So in between, these are the blank pages of your life. Everything you do, how you make the best use of your time, writes one line in your life story. So be careful. So it's not about just a motivational thing, but you have to connect the dots in a very creative way.
Thank you. It was inspiring for me as well. Thank you. I'll shut up now.
Fairy. He's got a magic wand, doesn't he? The way he talks that stuff. Joshi, thank you so much for coming. What have you got to ask?
Thank you very much for such an inspirational presentation. So I'm Joshi. I teach human resource management after a career in human resource management and accountancy. So believe me, I have many interesting stories too, which we all have, to share in the classroom. And I like the thing about, and I know it's not verbatim, but, finding the magic, guiding the students to find the magic within themselves, I think, and that's a wonderful concept and philosophy to bring in the classroom. A question, though, I'm just wondering, something that I've started introducing into my assessments, because unfortunately, if I look at the British system of education, particularly when they go into secondary school, it's very much a conveyor belt kind of education, very clinical, and it's very much about, this is an exam, and this is what you have to do, this is how you do it. And even the percentage of young people being tutored outside the classroom is growing as well, because everybody wants to get their grades. So they come with that mindset after they've done their A-levels or equivalents. And when in level 4, we almost have to unlearn them, help them unlearn that philosophy. And you ask them questions. Ask them, well, first of all, you make them realize that actually you can make a difference. And they just look at you blank saying, Joshi, what do I need to do for my assessment? Just tell me, and then I'll do it. And what do I need to do to get my distinction or, or a first? So I've started introducing the role of reflection within my modules, just to guide them through that, to say, well, actually, when you're going through a degree or, undergraduate or postgraduate studies, you are not endorsing and demonstrating what you already learned. You're actually growing in the process. So I'm not really interested whether you walk out with a 2-1, 2-2, or a merit, or a pass or a distinction. It's what person you become. And they look at me as if I'm a cartoon character, because I think, well, nobody really cares in the outside world. But the question is, have you incorporated it all, or have any experience of the role of reflection from that ordinary world to that transformational journey where you have that magic, where students can almost realize, because I've done it, but when you're doing modules, and particularly in a semester as well, it doesn't give you that scope, to develop compared to year long, if you will. And so, any tips on how we can jazz up reflection, if you will, because people hate talking about themselves as well. They don't like it, even though they do it because they've got to get their grade, and we give them theories around reflection. But it's can they endorse the fact that I am where I am, and this is a journey, and look at how I'm growing and developing without them being obsessed, which you can't help them being on a outcomes.
Okay, so I know what I do normally, because I understand that we are very much goal-oriented, and I actually differentiate between goal and dream in my class as well. So I try to make them realize that how they can actually achieve their goal faster. Because I was in the industry, I also bring some of the industry experience. I was connected with the, the graduate program assessment center and other things. So I say that, well, you all are looking to get a good job, right? So they understand. I said that means what you are learning, this is important to understand the world using some theory and lenses and develop some skill. But I explained my pedagogy in the beginning. I said that my pedagogy is this. I will allow you to talk. I will allow you to reflect. I will allow you to think and debate, because these are the things exactly will happen if you are looking for a proper graduate job. You cannot get a proper graduate job without the assessment center. And these are the things assessment center happens. So my every seminar is like an assessment center. So I initially, because I start the ending at the beginning. I show that this is where you are going, because that they need to see this thing, and they need to trust you as well. Otherwise, they will not actually go inside the tunnel with you without seeing the light. So you have to show that light first. And then I always create some scenario that, okay, say for example, somebody have a topic on data capitalism, and it's about, say, how Facebook can improve their, say, privacy policy, internal privacy policy, so that they can more conform with the GDPR and other thing, and they can make data capitalism practice more ethical. So I will say, create a work like, say, you have been invited to Facebook headquarters, as a graduate interviewee, and they want to give you a task which involves some discussion about this particular case, showing your position, which will help them to improve their internal privacy policy. So they can actually see that actually this thing they are doing, so they can mimic. So you need to show that. That is what is the story. It's not about telling. It's a bit between telling and showing. So even you write a assignment, you create a scenario and then give the assignment. They need to know that why they are doing it. If you do it, it will help you to do something in the future. So that kind of scenario you can use. A story is all about scenario. So what I'm trying to say is that you have to make them feel that they are the protagonist. And you say that, look, you might be focusing on the in the grade and other thing, but what is more important is that you first learn. So you will not believe that when I give some, I mean, say the way it works. Let me give you another example. It will work very nicely. So I give them, say, 5 topics, say for example, or 7 topics, and they know that there are some data giant. I say that choose one of the topic and one of the data giant, and then you create your title, and then you write an essay. So now they are creating the title. I'm not giving a question.
No.
And so a student, I said that, okay, if you want my feedback, send me 10 titles. They send me 5, 6, 10 titles. Which one is good? And do you know, I am benefited even by their thinking. You got my point. So they make my things a lot easier. Because that is what is the co-creation of knowledge.
That's right.
Because I am backdated. They are new version. Like I'm older. So we have to engage and we have to co-create. So this is what is the way we join the debate.
No, thank you very much. I think, that's useful. Thank you.
So I'm conscious that we've only got 10 minutes left. Time's just flown past. Callum, what would you like to ask?
Hi, Moin. Really enjoyed it. Thank you very much indeed. I love all the literary references. I don't see that very often. It's a real pleasure to see somebody embracing it. And before I go any further, I'm going to focus on one literary reference which I particularly like, which is "No Man is an Island." But before I do that, I'd like to just pass on something if I could. I loved the fact that you brought in Aristotle, ethos, pathos, logos, and so on and so forth. I believe the complement to it that I've heard from people who deliver preaching, for example, the complement in preaching school these days is dynamos. Now, I don't need to translate for you what that means, but that's your passion element now that's now incorporated within within the process of teaching somebody to stand from some elevated position and convey a message, religious or otherwise, to other people. So we now have ethos, pathos, logos, and dynamos, the passion piece. No man is an island. No man is an island. I sort of had that sense when I was listening to Joshi talking, how people look at her a bit strangely when she suggests certain things to them in class, and that she's a cartoon character or she's not on this earth. No woman is an island. The students, you picked it up as well in a different way. You talked about the students and their opinions are valuable and they are individual, and many of them feel pretty isolated by that. But no man is an island. You've come on today and you've given your ideas in terms of storytelling and so on and so forth. And the fact that many of us have not come across many of those ideas. No man is an island, you're hopefully going to try and make other people embrace what you're trying to do and turn it into an archipelago of people. I just wanted to ask you, if you're, in terms of delivering what you're doing, the methodologies you're using and so on and so forth, how much institutional support do you need for that? And when I say institutional support, I don't mean whiteboards and so on and so forth. I do mean, so not the services element, I mean the people upstairs, the left-hand brained people that you were talking of a few seconds ago. how much institutional support do you need for your calling?
I think, okay, to be honest with you, actually, this support will not do anything, because if you think about, say, when Steve Jobs, 24 years old, walked into the boardroom and talked to the CEO of Pepsi-Cola saying that, would you like to sell sugar water rest of your life, or you want to join me and change this world? He left the job. Steve didn't even like make anything at the time. Bill Gates called the IBM that, well, your software doesn't work. Would like me to write it? They said that we are not ready. Call me 20 after 6 months. For me, what worked is that the support what I got from the institution is that they recognized my passion. So when they recognized my passion, they allocated the subjects that I am good at, that I'm passionate at, whereby the 24/7 doesn't matter to me, because I am doing what I'm doing. If this kind of presentation I have to give, I can give 100%. I don't mind, because this is my passion. So that support I got. But thing is that I had to show them that what I'm passionate about. I'm not a native speaker. You can see that because Kalam used to work with me actually, and I used to sit beside Kalam and ask Kalam that, Kalam, can you teach me English? So in a previous, and Kalam said, okay, yeah, you do this, that. So, but I write 2 books in every 3 years. So, and these are published by Macmillan, the Routledge. But what I write, the question is what I write. I write the things I teach in the class. So I take a module, I do all the research, I go from nothing to improving, and when it is in a moment, I develop a book out of that. So every conversation I have, when I mark my paper, to be honest with you, when I mark my assignment, I'm reading, and that is what is the moment. I'm having an intellectual romance with my students. We are connecting intellectually. And when I get some idea, I go back to my slide, I open it, and I put that idea there, advancing for the next year. So nobody will give you support, to be honest with you. It's your hero's journey. You can only be on the path so long you understand that you are making a difference. So you have to first tell the story to yourself. Are you teaching? Is it a job or is it a calling? Or you are creating the future leader who will change this world? So the most important story is the story you tell it to yourself. So I tell to my student that what a story you tell to yourself.
Thank you.
I'm pitching that. I'm in an intellectual romance with my students. I'm just like, oh, I just love that. That's beautiful. So beautiful. Yeah. Sometimes some dissertations, I have to say, I'm not quite sure I'm there, but there's certainly some stuff I read and I'm just like, wow, that's amazing. Yeah. And you have to be ever so careful not to be too effusive, because, you've got to be reasonably even on your marks and all that sort of stuff. But it is wonderful. And I know exactly what you mean about discourse in the classroom. This is one of the things that's missing from maths teaching, is discourse. And it's something that Joe Bowler over in the States is very strong about, is that we need to create discourse around mathematics. And we need to stop telling people it's right or it's wrong and allow people the opportunity to discuss with each other, to discuss how they're understanding, to not feel embarrassed that they're getting it wrong. And it's okay getting it wrong, because that's just finding the place in your head where you need to put it right, If you don't find out where that place is, then how on earth can you learn? So the discussion is really important, but it's something that we've bashed out of the mathematics learning classroom. And that's why I think, we felt that having you here today to talk about this was actually very appropriate for this kind of group. And I'm still thinking it's very appropriate for this kind of group. What I'd love to do is just build it in more, and then maybe actually sort of like, bring that back to this group. How have we built it into mathematics learning? How have we actually developed these ideas to create more, and to create more confidence in students, to allow them to see that they can do it, they can be that person. So I got a student the other week to draw pictures. She told me she was math phobic. She's a master's student. She's very clever. She's managed to avoid maths for years and yet get really good grades in her degree. And then she's come onto a master's course and she's like, oh no, am I going to have to do statistics? And it's like, how confident are you going to feel in the workplace if you can't use data? How confident are you going to be when you've got to make decisions if you can't use data? And she's like, oh, I know you're right, but I'm so scared. And it's like, okay, what I want you to do is to take baby steps. Don't try to do this too quickly. Just take baby steps. And when you're feeling really anxious, don't walk away. Draw a picture, yeah? And then 2 weeks later, she comes up to me, she's like, I draw a picture. And this picture is of her brain, and it's got all these wonderful colours in it. But right in the middle, there's this worm. And this worm she's telling me a story, right? This worm is the people who took the piss out of her when she was a child. The people who took the mickey and told her she couldn't do it and she wasn't good enough and she was never going to be able to do it. And that obviously is where the barrier has come in her mind. Now that she's opened that up, she's actually starting to approach the tasks in a way which is far more open and actually realizing, yeah, I can do this. It might take me a bit longer, but it's not a problem. As long as I get it done. Yeah. And it's that, it's that magic. It's that realizing that there's magic inside of her and it's actually worth tapping into. Yeah. Sorry, Joshua, I'm talking too much.
No, you are saying good things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, Christina, those are good things. It's interesting, actually. Just one more thing about, where you introduce the importance of philosophy. Who are you, and ethics? Because it's one thing encouraging people to find their voice, right? But it's another thing where you use that voice responsibly as well, from the ethical and philosophical framework, if you will. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It goes back to your journey, doesn't it? That when they get to the transformational journey, do they actually then become the monster, or do they change the world?
Yeah. I just want to say one thing, like in response to Kalam's question as well. Sometimes that if you look for something, you will get it. For example, and you need to, it's not politics, it's not diplomacy, it's authenticity. So when I always had when I was being interviewed for this Queen Mary University, and I saw my head of department, she's Professor Yasmin Ibrahim, and she writes like 2 to 3 books every year. That's she. So you understand that. And 2 to 3 books every year. And I read 2 or 3 books of her before the interview. And I was really fascinated. And at the end of the interview, she asked me a question. Do you have any question? And I had one question. I said that if I am, I have read a number of your books and I am fascinated about things you are writing. So if I am actually hired, do I have a chance to teach with you? And she said, okay, we'll see. And do you know what? I was hired and I was given 2 modules, one postgraduate, one undergraduate, total 450 students roughly. And both the module I taught with her. And during that 10 weeks, I learned one new subject. And then we developed relationships, intellectual relationships, and then we created a Storytelling Unboxed, where we bring students. So what I'm saying is that in the imagination age, I have a book, that Creativity in the Imagination Age. In the imagination age, you can achieve anything you want. The problem is people do not know what they want. That is what is the problem. Annabella, sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I'm conscious. We got two hands up and we're on 6 o'clock. But
yeah, sorry. I will just say
really love to hear from both of you.
Linked to what Christina was saying, that really raises 2 main points in here, which is the reason why we're so happy you agreed to join us, Moin, which is, one is how do we deliver our teaching in business analytics to create that transformational journey for students, that imagination, that magic. How do we do it? And the other side of things, which is what we hope Christina will present in her next talk, is how do you use that storytelling in business analytics? Because nowadays, business analytics without storytelling means nothing. Numbers mean nothing without the story. So there's 2 main aspects here that I think is fundamental to highlight in the Business Analytics Forum. And thank you very much for doing that. I'll let Gerard put his question forward.
Thank you, Annabella. Gerard.
just to indicate my background, I'm not teaching business analytics, but I'm teaching research methods. The question that often arises in the way I teach is, of course, the same as the one that you indicate, which is to help the students become something. What is interesting to me would be your thoughts about the way you describe a student or anybody else who has the potential to do that. So you might say, this is introducing the magic, but that's still treating the students as passive learners. So my question is actually, how would you describe the ability of a student to actually do what you say that you are doing to them?
Okay, so I mean, as I told you that I said that everybody is unique and they have got the magic inside them. And then I said that, well, if you think about creativity is basically how many mistakes you can do, so that next time you will start not from the scratch, but you will start with experience. So I allow my student to do a lot of mistakes, to do things, to practice, to test and experiment the different ideas. So that is what is the way. Say, for example, in my lecture, so I have in Queen Mary, we have got 2 hours lecture. So the way I run this 2 hours lecture, so let's be honest. If you bring Beyonce and make her sing for 2 hours, people will be frustrated. Then what about talking about me? So I run very enthusiastic 1 hour lecture. And then I said that, okay, take notes. And now I bring my students in front of them. I said that now you are the journalist. One person asks intellectual question to another person and they will answer. And then we have the whole 200 people in the lecture theater. People are walking and asking question and people are answering. I say, why you are doing this thing? Because no matter what job you do, you are in the digital world, you are a brand. So you may be looking for starting your own podcast. You need to know how to interview people. Because when you have a question, the only way you can actually get the answer by asking. Learn how better you can ask things. So this has dramatically...
I interrupt you. I hope I don't, but there is little time, so otherwise I would stay. Actually, you are not answering my question. You are telling what you do.
Okay.
But what I'm asking is, what is your image of a student? Your image might be a biological entity.
Okay.
Your image might be a biological entity that is evolving over the centuries. You might talk about students as a biological entity that have the strange ability to step outside of their present. So my question was, how would you describe this special possibility or ability of students to actually learn from you?
Oh, okay. So I think, okay, if I've understood the question, it's I triggered 2 things. I try to use 2 things because your question is very difficult. So I'm not sure I can really help satisfy you or not. But in a story, what happens?
It's a discussion.
You do 2 things. One is that you spark curiosity in a story, like in a literary thing, and they ask that what is next. And second thing is that you create, the empathy. That means you show your concern. So I try to bring these 2 into my classroom. One is that creativity and imagination. So they are curious that what they are going to learn, what is coming, things like that. And I show really the empathy that I show them that yes, I'm really trying to help them. So I give them a lot of support. So it's not just the learning only, not limited only within the classroom. It goes outside classroom as well. I do different small projects. I meet with them. So I'm not sure it has answered your question or not, but it's just a discussion. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I wondered, is it getting at the idea of students as partners, people who we learn from as they learn from us? So it's a dynamic
co-creator.
kind of conversation between us.
Hmm.
It's not just about them learning from us, but we also learn from them, and we have to be responsive to the way that they're learning. It's like when you stand in a lecture theatre and you can see how something's landing. Do you alter the way that you're teaching, or do you just keep teaching it the same way? Yeah. And some people find it very difficult to be that creative in the classroom. You know, others of us, it's like a performative thing. It's just what you do. But is that what you're getting at, Gerard?
Yes. It's of course an epistemological question, but it has a philosophical range going into the discussion. It's easy to say I can do it better than certain types of teachers, and I think you have a right to say that. But there is also a more general question, and that is, we can be partners, but partners in what?
Knowledge creation.
I agree with
in
your
learning,
foundation.
in learning, because we learn from them as they learn from us. It's just that they are the experts in their own learning.
Yeah.
I am the expert in the subject that they've come to learn. So they have to trust me.
No, that's my point. You are not the experts. You are just a person in that interaction. So as soon as you think about yourself as a teacher, you're gone.
Yeah, but no, we're all experts. They're the expert in their learning. I am the expert in the subject that they've come to learn. And one thing that I've said to students before, which I usually get a shocked look from, but the master's students really get it, is, well, you have allowed me to facilitate your learning. So basically, you're allowing me to manipulate your mind to make sure that you get this information. And they're like, what? You're saying to me that I've allowed you to manipulate me? And it's like, well, yeah. And that requires a lot of trust. And I was like, well, do you trust me? And normally I get a yes. So, you know, I mean, but I think that honesty, that really just lay it on the table, honesty in your relationship with students is vital, especially as Joshy's saying with the level 4s. I mean, we just keep laying it out in front of them, don't we, Joshy? You know, just hoping that one day they'll click with it. I think they do by about level 5, yeah. But just tell me how to do the assessment.
There are more areas, but I appreciate what you're saying. But if we would have more time, I would engage in the discussion more, but maybe futures.
Maybe we can. I will be more delighted actually to talk to you and learn from you. To be honest with you, if I have your likes, I'll be more than delighted.
So I think I'm going to have to wrap up now because we've all got things to do and places to go and tea to cook and all that stuff. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming to talk to us, Moin. It's been absolutely marvellous, and I look forward to following it up with our data analytics one that we're going to try and turn into a really interesting story to help take people on the journey with us as to what skills companies require and what tools they use, which sounds very dry and boring, but I'm sure we can make it entertaining. Thank you.
This talk was recorded online on February the 12th, 2024. Thank you for listening. Don't forget, click the buttons for more.